That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, the 2024 remake of the 1991 film. This is the sophomore effort by Wade Allain-Marcus, which will be available to stream on BET Plus April 12th, 2024.
What is the director's first film?
Something called French Dirty, which I have not seen, from 2015, but you might know him as an actor because he was Derek in the series Insecure.
Yes. What is this film about? Tanya finds her summer plans canceled when her mom jets off for a last-minute retreat and the elderly babysitter who arrives at her door unexpectedly passes away. What is your pull quote?
An affectionate update of a 90s cult classic, Allain-Marcus somehow transforms contemporary Los Angeles into a breezy backdrop ripe with occupational possibilities. A lovely fantasy realized thanks in part to a vibrant young cast and a shrewd script.
Mine is shorter. Mine, a fresh and funny remake. But I agree with what you said. Uh-huh. So we reviewed the 91 film on our podcast in preparation for this film. I did like this film more, for sure.
I did as well. Mm-hmm.
So the story is like 75% the same.
Including character names.
So what is it about? There's a mom. So the difference is in this film, there are only 4 children. In the 91 film, there are 5. But we have this mom played by Ms. Pat, and she has some anger management issues at work and in life. And as a result, has to go on a 2-month retreat.
A yoga retreat in Thailand that she has to pay for herself.
Which is so stupid.
It's technically as nonsensical as the Australian trip the mom takes in the original.
Really? I think that is more feasible.
But for 2 months, like...
So the mom has to leave for 2 months to go on the retreat, and it's the summer. So she hires a babysitter to watch her 4 children. The babysitter is played by June Squibb, who we reviewed in Thelma, which I thought was a great movie.
Same.
But the babysitter dies from a heart attack after witnessing, like on the first night, the kids have a party that they say is like Bible study, where they're going to be playing like Christian rap. But when the babysitter sees all the like hip hop and weed smoking and gays kissing, she has a heart attack and dies. The kids dispose of her body, which we can get to. And then the bulk of the film is the oldest sibling, Tanya, played by
Simone Joy Jones.
She gets a job so that she can support her siblings because all of the money her mother gave the babysitter was on the babysitter's person when they disposed of the body, just like the first film. So there are a couple of side plot lines, but to wrap it up, the job Tanya has is in jeopardy. So Tanya arranges this big event to get the business back on track. And it's during this event that her boss and everyone else learns of her true identity.
Her deception, her
which
deceit.
is her deception, which is that she's not this 25-year-old college grad. She's a 17-year-old high school student. But everything works out in the end because the business is saved and Tanya is offered like remote work. So like a good job and
tuition reimbursement.
Her employer is going to reimburse her for 75% tuition at Howard University. So everything turns out great.
Even though the company named Libra was just on the verge of collapse.
Right.
A day before that conversation takes place.
So it's ridiculous like the original. But I think what really sent this for me, well, a couple of things. From the original, I really couldn't stand the siblings.
The siblings were trash.
They were just like awful kids that were unpleasant to be around.
Throw them away. Yeah.
Whereas in this one, I really thought all of them were so cute, particularly the younger siblings.
Well, it seems like they're actually a team.
Yes, from the beginning, that they like each other and they have their, the benefit of only having 4 siblings, not 5, is that we had more time to get to know each of them. And I really liked them. So the youngest daughter, she is like this she's very smart. She also maybe she's like 12 or 11. She's, I guess, like pansexual because she tells us she has a boyfriend and a girlfriend, but
online.
But doesn't like labels and yeah. And then she's very smart and also quite morbid. Then her the younger brother, he's also very smart and kind of a little weirdo. Like, his whole thing is that he has like a flock of crows
A murder of crows.
I guess those are his friends. And then the older brother, who in the original film is played by
Jackie Coogan's grandson. I forget his name.
That's right.
Paul?
No, I think it's like Kenneth or something. Kenneth Coogan or Kenny. It starts with a K. Anyway, that character I found so annoying. Because they make him seem like a juvenile, but he looks crazy. He's wearing a terrible wig, and he just seems like he's difficult for no reason. In this film, the older brother,
Donielle T. Hansley Jr.
I really liked him. He has more depth. I think he's quite charming, but irresponsible in a way that felt more authentic.
Yeah, he has a small part in Charm City Kings.
Oh, and then Tanya, I really enjoyed her. Compared to Christina Applegate, who I also liked, but I like that Tanya from the beginning seems more capable. Like, she seems like a smart young lady who just had her summer yanked out from under her, and so she's trying to figure out what to do. And I like that the minute she starts working, she's pretty much on top of things in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, Christina Applegate is, who I also is the best part of the original film, is kind of depending on the kindness of strangers a lot more.
Well, I think the best part of the original is Joanna Cassidy.
Yes, I agree.
And so in this film, Rose, the boss lady, is played by Nicole Richie, which we can get to. But yeah, I think the dynamic between the siblings, their development, I think the humor, because in the original, I didn't feel like these kids, like that the story really reflects what these kids might be going through in the early 90s. But in this film, I really did connect with these kids and the issues that they might have in modern day.
There's some things that aren't explained about this in LA to live in a house that big. Where are you?
Yeah, I did have questions about where they lived at this huge house. Also, okay, so getting to what didn't work for me, I really enjoy Miss Pat as a comedian.
I do too.
I've watched all of the episodes of the Miss Pat show on BET Plus, and I enjoyed that show very much. But I said from the beginning, she's not a very good actor. I don't even think she's a competent actor.
I agree with that. It's kind of like, I think she's best at being herself. Like a lot of comics, though.
Yeah, so she feels really stiff, but it's still a pleasure to see her. And Nicole Richie, I think her characters, you already said in your pull quote, I think the writing is quite good, and I think her character's writing is good. I don't know that Nicole Richie's the best actor either.
The problem with her, she didn't bother me. She's sweet. I thought she looked great.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing her, but her problem is she's probably only like 25% landing the comedic timing of some of the lines.
Yeah. Speaking of, she does look very nice, but I thought she reminded me if you mix Jerry Blank with Jasmine Guy, and then you threw in a little Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think she's a curious bird on screen.
Yes. And again, I didn't dislike her, but it's funny in a way that might not be intentional. But I think we really need to call out the screenwriter, Chuck Hayward, who wrote quite a few episodes of Justin Simeon's Dear White People, the series, for, I think, really elevating this.
Yeah, the script is quite good. Getting back to Rose, though, I had said when we get the first scene with Nicole Richie, I thought, oh, it's too bad we couldn't get Joanna Cassidy back. And then Joanna Cassidy makes a cameo in the end at the fashion show, and she looked fantastic.
She looks pretty good
I feel like she could have still played Rose. Although it wouldn't have made sense that she's playing this character 30-some years later.
No, but she's well-preserved enough. But Joanna Cassidy has looked good for a long time. In fact, I think her, as you commented, her hair looks better.
In this I think she even looks better in this film.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see her anyway. I'm just going to go through my notes. I think the premise of why the mom leaves in this one is just a little too ridiculous. Also, we see Miss Pat at her job, and she, based on her home in LA, I would assume that she's like the CEO of something. But she has this corporate job, and she's giving a presentation to who I assume are like stakeholders, and she gets upset and like throws.
Well, they malign her publicly.
To a degree.
To a degree, like he tells her, like, if you'd have done a better job at something, like in front of all these men.
Sure. I think her reaction was excessive. And I don't know that I loved that representation, like this character doing that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't love that for her. And then because the person playing that character is not very good at acting, it just all felt a little crunchy. And then when she comes home, she's stomping through the house and she just wasn't very motherly or kind in a way that I guess made sense in the original, because it's like she's kind of a shit mom to leave her kids to go on a trip with her boyfriend to Australia. In this movie, I think I like that her trip is sort of forced on her.
And the kids are aware that it's necessary for her mental well-being, perhaps.
Yes, so that made sense.
But there are some contradictions because, like the first film, it's set in a retail clothing store with Tanya's with her friends, and she texts her mom because Ms. Pat asked her to pick up her siblings, and she's like, "They're not my kids" or something, and her friend's like, "You said that." You said that to your black mama? And I would expect how Ms. Pat is playing this, like, there would be a reckoning.
Yeah, it did. The start was a little crunchy as far as how all that went. And then I think when it all wraps up and we see that, first of all, in the original film, the mother calls home twice and the kids are trying to figure out how to evade putting the babysitter on the phone because she died. In this film, Miss Pat is in the beginning, and then we never hear from her again until she pops up at the fashion show.
And I said that as the fashion show began. I'm like, we haven't heard from the mom.
I thought that was a little odd.
Sure.
But, yeah.
So then we have the combative secretary who Tanya, basically she feels she takes her job, this time played by Iantha Richardson, who I think I liked more than you did.
I think her character is a little too vile to make sense. Like, she's calling Tanya a bitch at work out loud in front of her. It just felt like, considering how like aware these characters are, and like all of them, her favorite coworker played by Gus Kenworthy, Nicole Richie's character, they all seem very aware of like their behavior. It seems so odd that Carolyn would be so obviously rude to a coworker and have no repercussions. Because in the end, Nicole Richie says, "I'm going to write you up for making false accusations against a coworker."
Casting aspersions.
So then that feels like, so if y'all are that aware of this kind of behavior, how is she getting away with being so rude? But before we get to Carolyn, we need to talk about June Squibb.
Oh, June Squibb is definitely an upgrade.
Yes. Because Miss Pat finds June Squibb on Facebook. Like, just this random old white lady to come watch her kids for 2 months. And when June Squibb shows up, of course, she's a cute little lady. But as soon as Miss Pat leaves, June Squibb jumps out the house like Medea and shoots a gun. And
she says,
"I watch Medea movies. I know how to discipline you little N-words." And I was like,
that was a jaw drop line. And then I think Tanya says, like, does not saying the word make it less racist?
But she says, June Squibb is this character, says a lot of crazy things, because
she says
they say they want to like do a surprise party or something, and she's like, "Oh, surprises are for kids' parties and the Japanese." Like, oh, what?
She also says hip hop ruined the blacks.
So she's a wild one. And then, of course, when they have this party, that's when June dies. But when we see her, I thought the makeup on her was quite good because they make her look blue.
Yeah.
So she looks pretty bad.
It's actually kind of creepy because you don't see her head, but you see her chest moving like she's breathing, and then
at night, and then in the morning, we see that
her legs look blue.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty morbid. Speaking of morbid, Miss Pat, when she's explaining to the kids she has to go on the retreat, she says, "I need a break. Otherwise, you're going to lose another parent." Which was kind of, because then later on in the film, we get mention of like suicide. And I thought it was interesting. The kids also make mention to, so now that the babysitter's dead, they try to figure out what to do with it. And the plan they come up with, they make mention to the original film because they say it's not 1999, it's not 1991, there are cameras everywhere. And so it's the younger sibling who likes true crime who comes up with this pretty insidious plan to stage like a drunk driving accident. And that's how they get rid of June Squibb's character. They intend for her car to run into a tree, but the car actually runs into the lake. So in the original, Christina Applegate's character her first job is at like a burger joint, And that's where she meets her little boyfriend, that actor
Josh Charles.
In this film, her first job is as an Uber driver. And she meets a guy, her first passenger, who ends up being the guy she starts dating.
Miles Fowler.
And he's important because he is the brother of Carolyn, the rude receptionist at Libra, Nicole Richie's company. But I thought their romance was cuter than the original.
Okay, it's cute. I think that we see their text messages between each other, and I think that the text message conversation they're having is very charming, and you can see that they have chemistry. But together, he doesn't act in a way that makes me seem like I believe that that's the same person writing those things.
Yeah, it was kind of odd. Like, their interactions digitally were very different from how he is in person.
Which...
especially towards the end when he realizes she lied and the way he's behaving.
Oh, the way because she missed out, because she has to save the company, basically, the night that he has his scholarship acceptance award, where he gets a little trophy, and so she forgot. And he's waiting on her doorstep.
And he's like, you missed the most important night of my life. And it's like, I've only known you for like a few, like, what, 6-7 weeks?
Not that long.
Also, both of them are going off to college on the East Coast.
Also
so like, you're both moving like 2,000 miles away from home or whatever.
I guess that tracks for how dramatic
3,000 miles.
Self-centered teens are. But it's like, if this is going to remain the most important night of your life, that's a problem.
Another highlight of the film is the music. So I guess Tyra Banks is one of the executive producers.
Yes.
I'm very familiar with BET Plus original films. I enjoy them. They're not known for quality sometimes. This one, I thought the production value was quite high. They spent money on the music. The film looks really nice.
I think I think we probably both went in with low expectations and were very pleasantly surprised at how good it is.
I really like the scene where, so the two younger siblings are obviously very tech savvy and quite smart. So when they realize their older sister has to get a job, they create a fake persona for her. And I thought that scene where they're explaining all of that was really cute.
And what's funny is, just like kids, they can do all that shit, but cannot make a sandwich for themselves.
Which I think is funny.
Which is attracts.
So the way Tanya gets the job at Libra is similar to how Christina Applegate gets the job at General Apparel West.
GWA.
GAW. So she walks in to go to HR to interview for a receptionist job, and she accidentally bumps into the receptionist, Caroline, and spills her coffee all over her. So, of course, Caroline is being vile to her. And that's when Nicole Richie comes out and says, "What's going on?" And she tells Carolyn, like, listen, we've talked about this, like, you and your attitude. I will gladly pay for dry cleaning if you will de-escalate. So then she sees Tanya and says, come with me. What are you doing here? Oh, well, I'm looking for an executive assistant. Let me see your resume. Oh, based on your qualifications, I think you'd be great. Plus, Carolyn's applying for the job and I can't stand her ass. So let me call your references and I think you have the job. So I thought it was really cute when Tanya was sitting there, like, looking up what is the...
for identity fraud.
For like she can get 15 years in prison for identity fraud. And then we see that Nicole Richie called her references and it's her siblings. And that's when I really appreciated that her siblings from the beginning, they all seem like they like each other and they're a team. Mm-hmm. It's just that they're being like normal kids who are, you know, they don't listen very well. But I thought they were very charming.
Yes, and make some decisions that if I were their older sibling, I would probably beat them.
Okay, so in the original film, the siblings steal all her petty cash.
The petty cash.
And they spend $3,000. In this film, of course, there's no cash. It's a corporate credit card. And her siblings ring up a charge of nearly $13,000.
No, they're like 9,000, but if you count the Whole Foods.
If you count the Whole Foods receipts, it's like $12,700 some dollars. I thought that was, and part of what they spend the money on is the younger daughter likes to play like online video games. So instead she bought a bunch of like arcade games so that she could stay off the internet. And then a plot point for the older brother is that he is on TikTok doing skate videos.
YouTube.
Is it YouTube?
Yeah, I think he says YouTube.
Oh, I thought it was
because they're about to be
TikTok.
monetized. You can't be, right?
I'm pretty sure it's TikTok. And he makes videos using a skate ramp. So he used the credit card to buy the skate ramp. Yeah.
And the youngest boy bought an outside house for his crows. Which I kind of wish we featured more of that, because he's like interacting with his friends a couple times. It's like, I want to see more of that.
So things take a turn with the kids when the younger daughter, she falls and dislocates her shoulder. And in the original film, they take the boy to the hospital. And this one, they call the ambulance, which was funny because the ambulance driver is a black woman. And she's like, listen, no parent here. I should be reporting this, but I was raised by a single mom, so I see what's up. Although we didn't have a house this nice.
Yeah.
So I thought that scene was funny.
She just kind of casually says, once the marijuana wears off this little kid, she'll be fine.
Yeah. And then, of course, in the original film, I think it's done a little better where I thought the best scene in the original is when Christina Applegate and her brother sort of argue like a married couple. Like, well, I have to stay at home and clean while you go to work and do fun work things. In this film, their interaction's a little more earnest in that she's upset that he's not helping out. And then we've cut to the next scene where the older brother has cooked like paella. And I thought that was really funny because he talks about he learned how to cook from like this black YouTube channel. And then he's describing the names that the channel could have been called. That was really good to me. So then the party. It was a good start because...
yeah. Oh, we didn't even bring up Jermaine Fowler.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, he's in it. He doesn't have much to do. He's playing the role of...
an executive.
Who's the boyfriend of Nicole Richie. In the original, that character's hitting on Christina Applegate. I like that in this movie, Tanya has no interaction with him. She sees him kissing another woman and confronts him. And he goes, oh, Rose and I have an open relationship. But then when Tanya tells Rose, we see that they did not. And I thought that was a really nice scene too.
It wasn't nice, but it's not set up well enough to be like, why would you do this at this party? Like, why would you do this right now?
Also, the difference between the two Roses, Joanna Cassidy played it very like, I support you, I'm very forgiving, like, I think you're great. In this one, Nicole Richie's Rose is a little more, she's a little less tolerant of the nonsense. Like, her character calls out a few of Tanya's shortcomings, but overwhelmingly praises her. Like the scene where...
The QED report.
In this movie, they have the QED report too, except now it's digitized. It's in Dropbox. And so Carolyn confronts Rose and says, I did Tanya's work for her. And of course, Rose goes, oh, Tanya, that's great. You're showing great managerial instincts. Like, it's so great that you know how to delegate, which makes Carolyn pissed.
Of course.
And then the way she's able to take down Carolyn is that she realizes that her online profiles are fake because they're using stock imagery that they photoshopped. So at the fashion show, she shows, in the original, the receptionist shows Rose Christina Applegate's driver's license. In this film, Carolyn shows Rose Tanya's yearbook, which I thought was kind of like, okay, unless I pay attention to the year and do the math, how would I know that? Like, you're showing me her.
Right. Like,
okay.
We all have a picture in a yearbook somewhere.
Yeah, and then of course Rose is like, I'm writing you up for false allegations. I thought that was a little weak. And the fashion show is equally as ridiculous. Like, these fashions don't make any sense for like school uniforms.
It's ridiculous. And none of these kids knew the date that their mother was coming home.
And then, of course, Miss Pat stomps in and, like, you know, clunkily delivers these lines telling everyone they have to get out of her house. That was frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating because it just doesn't play. Again, the original didn't feel well where the mother's screaming either. Like, young lady, you're in trouble. Like, what?
And then the ending where the mom says, where's the babysitter? Ms. Pat says that too, but then it's followed up with her kids telling her what they did. And then she basically says, like, well...
You made the right choice.
You probably made the right choice because no one's going to believe that she died on her own. So that was kind of a fun ending. But yeah, overwhelmingly, I laughed a lot. I thought it was really cute. I could see myself watching it again.
There was Nicole Richie has a line I loved about the QED report.
Oh, what did she say?
She hands Tanya a stack of papers, and she's like, "It's like the Bible here, except it's full of facts."
That's right. She said, "This is the QED report. It's like the Bible, but it's full of facts." Oh, another good line is when the older brother makes all the food for the fashion show. He goes, "No nuts, no gluten, no lawsuiting, no lawsuiting." I thought that was funny. What would you give?
And I think the Simone Joy Jones, I think it's a really lovely kind of attention-worthy role for her as the center. Because she's the one pulling it all together, like Applegate did.
Yeah, and she's beautiful on screen. I really liked her.
I did too. I would give it 3.
I would give this film 3 out of 5. I thought it was good. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.